All right then, so let me clean all these codes. All right, so let me bring this boilerplate code one more time, and let me link this /assets css styles.css. All right, so now over here I'm going to bring three different boxes inside a container. I'm going to bring three different boxes. So dot container, and inside this container I'm going to bring a div tag with the class called box, and I'm going to have it 3 times, something like this, right? If I press the tab, now I have the container. Inside the container I have 3 different divisions with the boxes. Save the changes. Now if I go here, you can see I have the container and I have the 3 different divs with the box, something like that, right? So let's go to the styles, and I'm going to target the every single element, which is going to be margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing border box. Save the changes. And I'm going to target the body tag. Of course, I'm going to keep the width as 100 VW, and height is going to be 100 VH. All right, for the time being I'm not going to change anything else. And inside here, and I'm going to target this container. So I'm going to copy this container, paste it, dot container. This container should always take width 100%, which means it should always takes the parent 100% width. For the container, for every single tag which comes inside the body tag, which the body is the parent of it, so the container should follow the parent width. So that's the reason we are using 100%. Then height is also going to be 100%. Say this changes. Now if you click the container, you can see container is taking the complete height of your body. This is the body, it's taking the complete height, and the container is also taking the complete height and width, right? Now inside this container only, so dot container, I do have this styles called box. So each box width should be like 200 pixels. Height also is going to be 200 pixels, and the background color is going to be it's going to be something like hash 777, something like this. You can see it's look like this. So, and I'm going to add some border radius as 6 pixels. So outside of these each boxes I need some spaces, so I'm going to add the margin. So margin, it's going to be let's say 5 pixels each, something like this. Now you can see around the boxes we have the 5 pixels on top, left, bottom, and right corners. All right, so by default you can understand this, the entire website is being in the top to bottom directions, right? So now we are going to use the flex property, which helps us really a lot in building a website. So basically when it comes to website, we use 2 different properties. One is flex and another one is grid. So we'll discuss the grid part later. The flex, which helps us to align the entire website in any one direction, either in a row direction or in a column direction. By default, if you're making any division as a flex property, whatever the contents which is inside the division, it's always in a row direction. For instance, let's say inside this container only have the 3 different boxes. So now it is in the column direction by default. So I need to bring it in a row direction. So I simply used to say display flex. So now entirely it is in the row direction. Now this container, it's taking the entire body, but this entire body, it's not taking, it's not accessing this entire screen, right? It's taking this complete height and width, but the entire content is always in the top. So as a body for this container, it should be in the center. Whatever the content which is inside this container, it should be in the center, right? So for this body tag, I'm going to say it as a display flex. So by default, now the entire body stuff, it's changed into a row direction. So think what is happening right now. So I have this one container, and I'm going to bring another one container. So that is going to bring that container over here. See, which means this is one division. First 3 is one division. If you are not using this display property, the second container section should always comes at the end. You can see comes at the end. So by default, if you are using it as the flex property, it brings that container at the top right corner. And I'm going to change this to display flex and flex direction as a column. Now you can see it is in the column direction, right? So, and I should align the items in the center. Now by in a single line, it will be from the left to right, it will align in a center line, and I'm going to justify the content in the center. Now it is it should come in the center. Wait a minute, let me delete this container for now. Okay. Yeah, basically it is in the center location only, because every single boxes, it is inside the container. I was totally confused, sorry for confusing you. So anyways, over here now it is in the display in the flex, and I'm gonna say align the items in the center. Now we can see inside the containers we have the 3 different boxes. This is the entire width of the container. In that width, from the top to bottom, we are aligning the entire content in the center. Now I'm going to keep it in the center also. So justify content in the center. From left to right, it will always in the center location. You can see, right? When it's shrinking, it should not reduce its size. It should adjust properly. So what I'm going to do is, for this box, I'm going to fix the minimum width. The minimum width of this box is going to be 200 pixels. It should not reduce beyond that. Now it will not reduce beyond that. But whenever the container is shrinking, it should reduce the size. So flex wrap. So it should automatically push this box to the next line. So now if I move it, it will automatically push that box to the next line. So basically it will adjust this positions by itself, right? So now what I have to do is, so over here, we understand how the flex direction is working. So if I want to change this flex direction into column, now I can change it into the column direction. Now I'm going to target this box. For this box, what inside this box, whatever the content I do have, it should be in the center. So display flex align item center and justify the content in the center. So now inside this box, I do have the text as 1, 2, and 3. Now you can see we have 3 different boxes in it, 1 and 2, and the text color is going to be the white color, so #FF, and the font size, it's going to be 30 pixel. Save the changes, something like this. Now this container is in the column direction, so I don't want this. Now you can see it is in the row direction now. Basically, align items are in the center and justify the content is also the center. So that's the reason from top to bottom is in the center location, and from the left to right is also in the center location. Let's see, justify the content space around. So it will distribute the space around these objects evenly. So if you want to reduce this, if you want to distribute the spaces evenly in between these objects, so you have to use it between. So now it will distribute the spaces between these objects evenly. So if you want to spread out all these objects evenly throughout the space, then you need to use space evenly. So now they will be spread out evenly in all these sides. So these will really helps you to align it properly, right? And if I want to change it, and now let's use the same flex direction as a column. You can see they will do the same in the column direction. And if you want to do it in the reverse, now you can see it's completely changed the direction from top to bottom, right? 3, 2, 1. So column, it's arranging it in the reverse direction. So basically the flex properties will really helps you to completely align the content in a easier way. So that's the beauty of all these objects and everything. Okay. All right, so just like the same way, if you wish to keep it in the starting point, all you have to do is to say start. So that will push the entire content to the start, or you can simply say flex start. It will always keep the same thing. Both start and flex start is going to be the same. And if you want to keep it in the flex end, it will push the entire content to the flex end. So if you want to make this box should always occupy the complete width. So if you don't want to give any width properties and all those things, you can simply give flex grow. So that will always takes the complete available spaces, right? So this flex grow property will helps you to make sure that it's taking the complete available width over here. So let's see, let's try it out something else. So over here, I'm going to say a box. So you can enable the multi-cursor editor just by clicking your Alt key or Option key over here and just type box 1, and you can change it by using something like this. Now, inside this container, we have the boxes, container box dot box 1. So you have to be very sure. If you leave the space over here, this will understand inside this box we have one more division called box 1. If you don't leave the space between over here like dot, if you don't leave the space here, this will understand this box 1 which included in the class list along with the box, right? So that's the reason I'm not leaving the space over here. So for this, I'm going to say I'm going to remove this flex grow, and I'm going to type it flex grow as a 1, and I'm going to copy this and paste it for 2 more times for this 2 and 3. Now it will be same, but this third box should take the more than the size of the previous one. Now we can see the flex 1 and 2, it's really small, but the flex box 3, it's really big. So you can adjust the size in this way, something like this. So you can adjust the space according to it. So that's the beauty of the flex grow property over there, right? All right, so now what I can do is, so we fix the width over here and we use the flex grow property. So even if I remove this, width property, save these changes, still we're gonna get, so I'm just going to change this to flex grow anyways. So flex grow, and I'm going to keep it as 1. Now you can see they're distributing these spaces evenly. So what happened? What if it is, if you needed to keep it up, if you want to maintain a common space for a box? So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to say for this, the flex basis, it's going to be like 300 pixels. The basic size of this is going to be the 300 pixels. So if I don't give this flex grow, see, it's going to take that 300 pixels. So just like the same way, I'm going to copy and paste it over here, and I'm going to paste it over here. Now everything, it's taking the 300 pixels of these sizes, right? That's the basic size of it. So if I'm going to make sure this box 2 should increase, so flex grow, which is going to be 1, so that is going to push those remaining 2 spaces, whatever the available spaces in that flex box, it's going to take that complete space. So we know that the minimum size of this 300, this basic size is 300 pixels. So I'm going to make sure flex shrink as like 1. So if it's going to help us to reduce this space beyond the 300 pixels. So if I'm reducing it, you can see it's pushing, it's beyond the 300 pixels. See, this is not 300 pixels, right? So that's the flex shrink. It helps us to, it allows us to shrink it 300 pixels. So for instance, like if I'm giving this as 1, and for the Flexbox 3, I'm gonna give this flex shrink as, let me remove this, and I'm going to make this as 5 or something. Now you can see it's like, anyways, if I remove this, it will make you too confused. If I keep this as 5, and now if I'm shrinking it, the Flexbox 3 will shrink much more, even higher than the Flexbox 2. So that's the advantage of the flex shrink. It helps us to shrink it beyond the threshold, right? So I don't have to write it all these 3 points in 3 different lines. I can simply mention it just like this over here. Flex, let's keep it as flex 1, 1, 0, something like this. That will also do the same stuff. See, no changes in it. That will also do the same stuff. So all you can do is copy this, and you can put it for everything, something like that. See, everything, it looks similar. So if you don't want to make this flex grow for this particular one, you can keep it as 0. So now it is not going to grow on the all the available spaces. But if you want to maintain the some basic size, so you can give it as a 200 pixels. So now it have the 200 pixels as the basis flex spaces. So if you want to do the same stuff for this, so I need to shrink it, and as well as I need to maintain some basic sizes as 150 pixels or something. I can mention it as a 150 pixels. So, and I'm going to make this flex grow property as 0. So now this is 150 pixels and this is 200 pixels, and this is container is taking the complete grow length in between in it, right? So this, I'm going to make this as it should not shrink. So I'm going to make it 0. It should not shrink beyond that. So if I try to shrink it, it is not going to shrink it beyond that. So for this, instead of making it as a 0, so I'm going to make this, it should not shrink beyond this 200 pixels. See? Oops, I'm sorry. I can mention it either 1 or 0. If you make it as a 0, it is not going to shrink. Okay, so now it's confusing. So this is supposed to be 1. Yep. So if you're making it 1, so that helps you to shrink it, but it will not go beyond that basic size. Okay, so this is all about, this is instead of writing all these things in 3 different lines, you can simply mention it in a single line. So that's the beauty of this flex boxes and everything. All right, so now I hope you all understand the base of the flex boxes. So if you want to learn much more about the flex boxes, still you're having a lot of questions in the flex boxes, all you have to do a beautiful, and you can go for the google.com and you can simply search for this CSS tricks Flexbox. If you search for CSS tricks Flexbox, you can find the complete guide of the flex boxes, where you can understand how the flexbox properties, what is flex and what is the flex direction, what is flex wrap and everything. So you can understand all the properties, whatever I explained. You can learn much more with the visual effects over there, right? So this is all about the flex boxes, and next let's move on to the grid system.